On the internet, there is a popular streamer named Classic Nerd. He became popular by playing the most difficult games in the world. After many months of trying, he finally cleared the highest difficulty in a game called Empire Defense. Many people thought it would be impossible to beat this game, but Classic Nerd was able to eventually do it. After he finishes, he stands up and yells in joy. His viewers congratulate him on being the first to succeed in this game. Classic Nerd sits down and looks at the game. Most of the viewers are sad that a lot of Classic Nerd's party died in the end. But Classic Nerd is happy he was able to get through the game while keeping the main character, Lucas, alive. Classic Nerd got an achievement for beating the game, but he feels a bit bad for Lucas, who had to live on while all his friends died. After the credits for the game start rolling, Classic Nerd gets a message telling him that the creator of the game will give him a reward for winning. When the game was first released, the creator got yelled at for making it too hard, and Classic Nerd was the first to prove it was possible to complete the game. Classic Nerd says he doesn't need any prize and sits back. The creator of the game, Mr. A, disappeared soon after he created the game, so there's no way to get a reward from him. Suddenly, Classic Nerd gets a message from a person calling himself the director of Empire Defense. Classic Nerd and all the viewers are shocked that the creator of the game is messaging after so long. Mr. A congratulates Classic Nerd for succeeding in beating the game after so many years of trying. Mr. A then says that Classic Nerd has proven his worth and asks him to come help him with something. Classic Nerd doesn't believe that Mr. A is really the creator of the game, and he tries to tell the man off for pretending to create the game. Before he can say anything though, Classic Nerd starts to feel nauseous and his vision gets blurry. He falls over and loses consciousness, but he hopes that his viewers will call for help so he doesn't die. Classic Nerd wakes up to the sound of explosions. He sits up straight and screams, but he's wearing a different outfit than he was before. He looks around and notices a piece of rock falling towards him from the top of a tower. Classic Nerd is confused but manages to avoid the rocks falling around him. He stands up and looks around, trying to figure out where he is. A cannon goes off right next to him, shocking Classic Nerd and making him fall down. Looking around, Classic Nerd sees a line of soldiers holding up a red flag standing on top of a castle wall. They rush around and seem to be fighting against something that is trying to get up the wall. Classic Nerd can't understand what's going on around him. Suddenly, he hears someone shout at him. A soldier rushes over to where Classic Nerd is sitting and calls him a prince. Classic Nerd thinks the man is an enemy soldier and yells at him to stay away. The soldier is shocked, and he drops his sword before kneeling to Classic Nerd and apologizing. Classic Nerd gets up and tries to talk to the man, but before he can ask anything, a green fireball flies towards him. The fireball explodes in front of Classic Nerd and it causes him to fly back. Classic Nerd gets up and looks back, seeing the soldier he just talked to covered in flames. The soldiers around Classic Nerd rush towards the wall to try and stop some enemy, but they are all killed quickly by some unknown enemy. An arm from the soldiers flies over to Classic Nerd and lands next to him. The rest of the soldiers are stabbed by black long legs, and they fall to the ground. Classic Nerd finally gets a good look at what is attacking the castle. It seems to be a massive black spider with long legs and red eyes. The spider screams at Classic Nerd and causes him to close his ears. The soldiers rush over to try and stop the spider, but they are cut down quickly. The spider makes its way towards Classic Nerd, and he tries to figure out if he's hallucinating or not. The spider lifts a leg to attack Classic Nerd, but before it hits Classic Nerd, a blonde swordsman steps up and uses his skill to slice the spider in half. The swordsman stands in front of Classic Nerd and asks if he is okay. The swordsman says Classic Nerd is a royalty, and he tries to help him up. Classic Nerd realizes the swordsman looks like the main character in Empire Defense, and he asks if his name is Lucas. Lucas says that is his name, and asks if Classic Nerd lost his memories in the battle. Classic Nerd is shocked and looks around. Classic Nerd realizes he is standing atop a massive castle as it's being attacked by hordes of black spiders. He realizes he must be in the game, Empire Defense, and that he is doomed. Empire Defense is a game where you have to defeat the almost endless hordes of monsters that rush at you, and it is one of the most difficult games in existence. The spiders continue to launch fireballs at the castle, breaking the walls and sending rocks flying. Classic Nerd stands on top of the wall and talks to Lucas. Lucas grabs Classic Nerd's shoulders and tells him that they are currently fighting the Black Spider army. The wall has almost been broken down, but luckily, the spiders will go to sleep when the sun sets. Lucas pulls out his sword and stands between Classic Nerd and the spiders to protect him. Classic Nerd realizes that he has been called royalty by all the soldiers and Lucas, so he starts trying to figure out who he is in the game. When it gets dark, all of the spiders leave, but the castle is in a bad shape. Classic Nerd stands on top of the wall and looks down at all the dead spiders. Classic Nerd asks Lucas where he is, and Lucas responds by saying that it is February, and that they are in a fort occupied by Crossroads. Classic Nerd realizes what situation he's in and bites his lip. He is currently in the tutorial for Empire Defense, and his name is Ash. Lucas says that he is correct, and Ash screams in anger. In Empire Defense, Ash is the third prince of the Empire and he is a lunatic. He is also fated to die at the end of the tutorial. In the barracks, Ash screams at himself in the mirror and curses himself for coming to this fort. In Empire Defense, there is a difficulty called Hell, and a mode that makes it so you can't save anyone called Iron Man. This combination of settings is called Iron Man Hell, and it is the hardest difficulty the game can have. And the only person in the world to complete Iron Man Hell in the game was Classic Nerd. With all of his knowledge, Ash realizes that it is basically impossible for him to survive in the tutorial. Lucas is the real main character of the game, and he is the only person to survive the tutorial stage in the original game. The Black Spiders are some of the hardest enemies in the game, and they are impossible to clear at the start of the game. Ash tries his best to come up with some way to defeat the spiders, using all his knowledge from Earth. But after a bit of time, Ash realizes there is absolutely no way for him to get out of this situation alive. The spiders are level 50 and above, the walls of the castle are breaking, and the only piece of equipment they have is a mana cannon. Ash doesn't give up though, and continues to think as hard as he can for an answer, and eventually he finds one. Ash leaves his room and has Lucas gather his personal party. Later, the group is all together in one place, and they all wait for Ash to give instructions. The mage is named Lily, the knight is named Ken, and the healer is named Damian. In the tutorial, they are all characters destined to die. Ash asks why Damian is sitting in the corner, and Lily tells him that Damian lost a friend in the battle earlier. Ash ignores that and continues to give orders to the rest of the people in the room. First, he talks to Lily. Lily is a powerful mage who is able to cast spells and deal a lot of damage. But for some reason, Ash tells Lily to be the shield and to block the rest of the party from taking damage. Ash then talks to Ken. Ken is a knight that is able to take a lot of damage and draw enemies in. Ash tells Ken to sneak into the enemy ranks and to cause a disturbance. Ash then tells Damian to become the sniper for the group. Ken speaks up first and yells at Ash for coming up with such a ridiculous plan. Ash thinks for a moment, and then threatens Ken by asking if this can be taken as insubordination. Ken shakes in fear and tries to explain himself, but before he can say anything, Ash gets up. Ash walks up to Lily first and pulls out a dagger. He then uses the dagger to stab Lily in the shoulder. Everyone in the room is shocked as Lily starts screaming. Ken looks at Ash in shock, but before anyone says anything, the dagger catches on fire. Using his knowledge as Classic Nerd, Ash realized that all of the tutorial characters have strange traits that don't fit their roles in the game. Ash explains that Lily has an ability which can allow her to dodge physical attacks using mana. Ash knows that the tutorial is almost impossible to clear through normal methods, but if the game is now turned into real life, Ash will use all the cheats he can find so he can survive. Lily says that Ash is right, but asks him how he knows about her secret ability. Ash avoids the question and moves on to Ken. Ash says that Ken used to be a thief when he was a kid, meaning that he has a lot of experience hiding from people. Ken has an ability which lets him hide his presence in exchange for health. Ash walks over to where Damian is sitting and kneels in front of him. Ash explains that Damian has amazing eyes, and that is the reason he was able to see his friend's death so well. Damian starts to cry and asks why Ash brought them to the battlefield to fight to the death. Damian asks if all lives are worthless to Ash and screams at him. Ash tells Damian to hate him as much as he wants, but he should use his life to take revenge on the spiders who killed Damian's friend. Ash asks Damian if he wants to kill the spiders, and Damian responds by saying that he wants to kill the spiders and Ash as well. Ash smiles and says that if they survive this battle, Damian can kill Ash if he wants. Damian looks up at Ash and stands up. Ash made sure that Damian would follow his orders even if it was because of hatred. Ash stands up and apologizes to the group. He says that if Ash was a better commander, he wouldn't have caused so many people to die for no reason. But he says that if they want a chance to survive, they should follow Ash and win against the spiders. The group agree to listen to Ash, and the next day, they all get in position for the battle. Ash stands on top of the tower with the mana cannon, and looks out at spiders rushing forward. Ash's plan is to take out the Spider Queen while the rest of his party holds off the Spider Army. If the Spider Queen dies, all the other spiders will die as well. The problem is that the Spider Queen is too far away from the battlefield to aim at normally. But using a skill, Ash can accurately determine where the Queen is at all times. Ash has a unique skill called Map Creation, where Ash is able to see the area around him using a minimap. Ash planned to use this skill to find the Spider Queen, but for some reason, the Spider Queen isn't on his map. The previous night, Ash gave Ken every stamina potion in the castle and ordered him to try and cause as much damage to the spiders as possible. Lily is stationed in a tunnel, and it is the last line of defense before the spiders get to the armory. Lucas is the commander of the main troops, and he stands at the front of the castle giving orders to the soldiers. Lucas thinks that everything is going according to plan, but Ash has no idea what to do since the Queen isn't displaying on the map. Ash realizes that the goal of the tutorial isn't to defeat the boss monster, so it makes sense for them to not be on the map. Ash realizes that the Queen must be with the troops at the back of the army. Ash looks around and he is able to find them in the distance. He commands Damian to try and find the Spider Queen in the group of spiders. After a second, Damian sees a spider with the body of a human, and tells Ash that the Spider Queen is there. The group turns the cannon to face the Spider Queen, and Ash tells Damian to take control of the machine. Damian is worried that he will miss and ruin the plan, but Ash tells Damian that he is allowed to make a mistake. Ash tells Damian that this is his chance to avenge his friend, and Damian starts to aim the cannon. Damian pulls back on the trigger for the cannon and fires a massive blue laser towards the Queen. The shot arcs towards the target and explodes in the distance. Ash asks a scout for an update, and the scout says that the shot hit the target almost exactly. The soldiers around Damian compliment him, but Ash knows that this is because of Damian's trait. The skill allows Damian to always hit his target no matter what. Ash starts to celebrate, but he realizes that the spiders are still attacking the castle. Ash looks through the telescope and sees that the spiders are in a defensive formation around the Queen. Even though the shot almost hit perfectly, the Queen was able to survive. The entire group of spiders start to swarm towards the tower that Ash is standing on. The group fires another shell at the Queen, but the Queen still doesn't die. Ash knows that the Spider Queen should normally fall within 2 or 3 hits of the cannon, but it's possible that the tutorial Spider Queen has different stats. Ash curses his luck and tries to think of a solution. The soldiers yell that the cannon is being damaged by the explosive shots they are firing. If they try to shoot the cannon anymore, the cannon will definitely explode. The soldiers tell Ash that they have 3 more shots to be able to kill the Queen with, and after that, the cannon will definitely break. Damian is also in a lot of pain from using his special skill so much, and Ash wonders if they will be able to last any longer. Suddenly, a massive spider starts charging towards the castle wall. The men all try to kill it before it can cause any damage, but it manages to reach the wall and break through. The rest of the spiders charge into the gap in the wall, and the soldiers charge down to fight them. Ash stands on the tower and orders the men to continue firing at the Queen until they win. Damian continues to fire shots with the cannon at the Queen, but she manages to live through it all. At the bottom of the wall, Lucas is trying his best to fight against the waves of spiders. The soldiers are dying all over the place, and Ash is getting more and more worried. Each person that dies is an actual person, not like the NPCs they were in the game. Ash tries to think desperately of a way out of this situation, but he isn't able to think of anything. Suddenly, Ken shouts at the monsters and draws them all outside of the castle walls. They charge at him and Ken runs away as fast as he can. He finds a rock to hide behind and he tries to activate his ability, but he doesn't have enough health and it fails. The spiders catch up to Ken and kill him.